Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
It's been a day of reckoning for two of the UK's top banks. RBS has had to agree a £3.6 billion penalty with the United States Department of Justice to end the investigation into sales of financial products, some of them toxic mortgage bonds, just before the 2008 financial crisis. And Channel 4 News has seen a damning internal review into Lloyds' disastrous takeover of HBOS in 2009. This claims both banks knew about a vast toxic debt pile connected to fraud at HBOS Reading before recommending their merger to shareholders. Our business editor, Siobhan Kennedy, has this.
It was all handshakes and hugs when the chief executive of HBOS and the bosses of Lloyds announced a merger at the height of the financial crisis. But 10 years on, are the sins of the past coming home to roost? Today, explosive claims in an internal document finally saw the light of day.
This is a report that Lloyds never wanted to be made public, but we've obtained a copy, and it's a whistleblowing review of the disastrous HBOS takeover, which saddled Lloyds with debt and led within months to a massive government bailout. In it, the author claims that the banks had evidence of a huge toxic debt pile linked to fraud inside HBOS's Reading branch, which wasn't disclosed to shareholders when Lloyds recommended the merger. If it had been, the deal might never have been approved and billions of pounds worth of shareholders and taxpayer funds could have been saved.
3 successive chairmen were told about this in detail. A huge number of people wrote to them, and it is quite clear that this report shows that it was known about at board level for 10 years.
Anthony Stansfield is the Commissioner of Thames Valley Police who drove the successful conviction of 6 bankers at the heart of the HBOS Reading scandal in 2017. He's angry not only that the cost of their crime was hidden during the merger, but also that the whistleblower's report was apparently buried.
It is clear that the chairman of Lloyds, the chief executive, the chief operating officer and their chief counsel were well aware of this internal report in 2013, and I find that it's quite extraordinary they continued to deny a fraud had taken place for a further 3 years, in which a very large number of people lost their houses, lost their businesses, lost everything.
People like Paul Turner.
Oh, what were they doing, Paul?
It's just upsetting.
Of course, yeah.
But you don't realise it at the time.
His music business was one of dozens that were destroyed in the HBOS fraud, and despite raising his case for years to HBOS and then Lloyds management after the merger, they claimed to find no evidence. Today, though, the whistleblower report reveals that Lloyds TSB did have evidence of the Reading incident in October 2008, a month before shareholders approved the merger. The HBOS strategy, it said, was to conceal Reading, and all those involved have condoned criminality and injustice. It also takes aim at HBOS's auditors, KPMG, saying they knew disclosure of the Reading incident was probably fatal to HBOS and knew that shareholders and investors were deliberately misled. In another twist in this sorry saga, Channel 4 News has learned that the only reason this report was made public today was because it was leaked by none other than one of the convicted HBOS criminals from inside his prison cell. Michael Bancroft was one of those found guilty of using customers' money to spend on luxury yachts, fast cars and prostitutes. But writing from his cell, he says senior executives knew what was going on.
I have recently been sent by one of those convicted, Mr. Michael Bancroft, which alleges that senior managers within the bank were aware of the fraud prior to the takeover and the £14 billion Lloyds and HBOS rights issues. Yet they took clear, deliberate and documented action to conceal it. Let's be clear. If true, this would potentially make both rights issues and the takeover fraudulent.
For Lloyds, the report brings the Reading crisis right to its front door and to the desk of the current chief executive, Antonio Horta Osorio. Why is it that he sat on this report for 5 years and never published it? Why did the report's author leave so soon after she submitted her findings? And how is it possible that Lloyds consistently denied criminality inside Reading until 6 bankers were put behind bars 2 years ago? Big questions from the past still to answer.
In a statement, Lloyds said the whistleblower report was not commissioned by the group, but was written by a former employee whilst employed by us. We are determined to get to the bottom of what happened in HBOS Reading. Lloyds also said it had commissioned a retired High Court judge in 2017 to conduct her own independent review into the Reading scandal. KPMG also told us it strongly refuted the allegations, which we believe to have no basis in fact.
I think the Turnbull report quite clearly lays out if the main board is aware of major fraud, it has an absolutely legal obligation to declare that fraud and to declare it in rights issues and in audits, and this did not happen.
So are you saying that Lloyds tried to cover it up?
Absolutely.
And that report by Siobhan Kennedy.